A man sits in a quiet room. His hands shake slightly. A bead of sweat drips from his brow. He hears a voice from within the same room, calm, controlled. Please continue. The experiment requires compliance. He has already been paid. In front of him, a machine, rows of switches, each marked with a voltage. He hesitates, then presses one. 300 volts. A scream echoes from the next room. He turns. The scientists behind him don't react. They continue writing as if nothing is happening. The lead researcher doesn't even look up. Please continue. The man turns back to the machine. He follows the instructions he was given. Another button. Higher voltage. The voice on the other side begs him to stop.
Please stop.
But he continues. And statistically speaking, you wouldn't stop either. This is the story of the Milgram Experiment, and it reveals something deeply unsettling about human nature. The year is 1961. At Yale University, a young psychologist is troubled by the past, or more accurately, the past of his ancestors. His name is Stanley Milgram. He is born in New York to first-generation Jewish immigrants. He grows up in the shadow of the Holocaust. The stories are not distant, they are personal. Many of his own family are among the victims. He cannot understand it. How ordinary people, people who once lived normal lives, could become part of something so monstrous. He wants to believe it is an anomaly, something unique, something confined to a specific place, a specific culture, a specific moment in history. His theory is simple. There must be something about the authoritarian structure of Nazi society that allowed it to happen. Something that separates them from us. So he decides to test it. Not with philosophy, not with debate, but with an experiment. He places an advertisement in a local newspaper. A simple request. Volunteers needed for a study on memory. They come willingly, men from all walks of life, ordinary, unremarkable. Women are not invited to participate, at least not at first. Each one believes they are here to help science. Each one is paid simply for arriving. An important detail, one to remember. What they don't know is that the experiment has already begun. It is the summer of 1961. A man arrives at a quiet building at Yale University. He is greeted by another man in the waiting room, another volunteer, or so he thinks. They exchange a few words, just normal pleasantries. A man in a white coat appears, a clipboard in his grasp, a lab coat. They are told the purpose of the study: memory, learning, the effects of punishment on recall. It sounds reasonable, scientific. Now they must be assigned roles. One will be the teacher, the other, the learner. They draw slips from a hat. It seems fair, random, but the outcome is decided before he even arrives. He unfolds his paper. Teacher. The other man sighs. Looks like I'm the learner. They share a brief smile, a small joke. Nothing feels unusual. What he doesn't know is that the man beside him is not a volunteer. He is part of the experiment. And the roles were never random. He was always going to be the teacher. And he is about to discover something deeply disturbing about himself. The two men are led into separate, adjacent rooms, cut off from sight, but importantly, not from sound. The teacher sits before a machine, rows of switches, each one labeled with a voltage. He is given his instructions. He will read a list of word pairs. One is the prompt. The other must be remembered and repeated when the prompt is read back. If the learner gives a wrong answer, the teacher must deliver what he believes to be an electric shock. Each time a mistake is made, the voltage must be increased. He is told the shocks may be painful, but not dangerous. In the next room, the learner is strapped into a chair. Electrodes are attached to his arm. He mentions, almost in passing, that he has a heart condition. The teacher hears it, but the experiment continues. The test begins. A wrong answer. A switch is pressed. At first, the response is mild. Annoyance, discomfort. But with each mistake, the reaction grows. The voice becomes louder, more urgent. He begins to protest, then to plead, then to beg. The teacher hesitates. He turns to the man in the lab coat. The experiment requires that you continue. There are no threats, no force, no punishment for stopping. He has already been paid. He is free to leave at any time. And still, he continues. Because the only thing driving him forward is the presence of authority. Eventually, the man reaches the highest voltage setting, 450 volts. Danger, severe shock. He has heard the persistent screams and pleading from the stranger he met just an hour before. He has ignored every request for him to stop, every cry for mercy. He looks for reassurance once more. The scientist responds as he always does. The experiment requires that you continue. He pushes the final button, but this time, instead of cries of distress, he is met with silence. No response. Nothing. For all he knows, the learner is seriously injured, or worse. He was paid at the beginning. He could have walked out with his check for $4 at any time, even before the experiment began. But he chose to continue, at every stage. Not because he had to, but because he was told to. He drops his head into his hands, realizing what he has done. Stanley Milgram stands from his seat at the back of the room. He approaches him and thanks him for participating. He tells him the truth, that the learner was an actor, that the pain was never real, that he hasn't hurt anyone. The man is relieved, but still distressed. After all, is it not intent that matters? What is more important, that no one was hurt, or that he believed he was hurting someone? Milgram tells him he should not be too hard on himself, that the vast majority of people behaved exactly as he did. The man leaves, his heart heavy with what he has just learned about himself. Milgram continues the experiments, and the results begin to trouble him. After all, they have proven the exact opposite of what he set out to show. His original plan is simple. Gather initial data with American subjects, people he believes will resist hurting others. Then travel to Germany to show that what happened there was cultural, specific, different. But he never makes that trip, because the data speaks for itself. Nearly 2/3 of participants continue the electric shocks to the machine's maximum setting, 450 volts. And every single participant is prepared to begin. Not one refuses at the outset. They question it, they hesitate, but they start. Around 1/3 do eventually refuse to continue in the later stages. Some draw a line. Most do not. Milgram expands the study. Women are included. The outcome does not meaningfully change. The distress is often more visible, but the behavior remains the same. There are more than 20 variations of the experiment. Small changes to the setup, to the distance, to the authority, but the result remains remarkably consistent. When people are instructed to impose suffering by someone they perceive to be in a position of authority, they comply. The reaction is immediate, and it is not all praise. Milgram faces widespread criticism from psychologists, from the public, even in the media. The ethics are challenged. How far is too far in the pursuit of understanding? Some argue the experiment causes real distress, that it pushes ordinary people further than they should ever be pushed, that it crosses a line. Milgram defends his work. He insists the knowledge gained is too important to ignore, that understanding obedience may help prevent something far worse. But the debate does not go away. It continues long after the experiment ends. We like to believe we would be different, that we would resist, that we would walk away. But the experiment suggests something else, that under the right conditions, we might not. If you enjoy dark history, check out this other video in which a Roman stadium collapses on 50,000 people. See you next time.